What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Nickel City Rush Hour Sunday edition. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I had a fantastic day with my family. Nothing better than Father's Day. The moms might think otherwise, but Jake, happy Father's Day to you. We got a lot of
Thanks,
people
sir.
that watch this show that might be out on the channel. Happy Father's Day. And, you know, this is the third in our series of the Gridiron Battle. The Bills not doing too good so far, Jake. We haven't got any wins. We had a draw against the Dolphins. That was a great battle. Then we went up against the Jets, lost that one by 2 points overall. Actually, I think it was 4 points when you added in PFF, but it was a close battle. I think this is our favorite, Jake. We've been doing this the last 3 years, these gridiron battles, and the Chiefs, obviously, they're the team to beat. It's our favorite to do. We've met some great Chiefs fans, and through doing these, and I gotta say, guys, over the last 2 to 3 months, you know what the most watched show on Nickel City Mafia is? With all the stuff we do, guess what the most watched show is? It's that post-game loss to the Chiefs, Bills versus Chiefs. And it's not just Bills fans watching that, it's Chiefs fans because we've been getting a lot of comments as well. I mean, let's face it, when it's Bills versus Chiefs, people see that, they're drawn in. I mean, they know it's going to be an epic battle. So I think Chad and I think Weston, who may be out there in the chat, I think you guys found us on that post-game show. I think we became good friends, believe it or not. Yes, we're friends with Chief fans. Yes, obviously we are.
Yep.
We love them so much, even in our Discord, which you can join for free. We talk all kinds of things 24/7. The link is in the description of this show. We actually created them a Chiefs channel, and we do a lot of talking in that channel, trying to get an inside scoop, any advantage, and we send that right to One Bills Drive if we hear any good information. But Jake, thanks for joining me tonight. Again, happy Father's Day. And our special guest tonight is Chad, the Chief, big Chiefs fan. Chad, how are you doing today?
Good, sir. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. I know we talk in the Discord. You've been on our show at least once or twice, I believe now. So looking forward. You and Weston always bring the heat about your Chiefs, and deservingly so. Jake, you ready to get this battle going?
I'm ready to get it going. I mean, I'm prepared to take some lashings, I know, but I'm excited for this.
All right, just for those who've never seen one of these gridiron battles, the way we do it, it's a 10-round boxing style. We go position group by position group, and we have these two gentlemen here. They will try to debate whether their position group is better than the other. You can have a win, which is a 10-9 score. We use the boxing scoring system. You can have a knockdown, which is the 10-8, and a knockout round. Basically, if you have a position group that you think is so much better and deserves a knockout, it's a 10-7 round. Now, 10-10s are frowned upon. They are frowned upon, so I would strongly like to encourage Jake and Chad to try to come to an agreement, but if they can't, a 10-10 round will be scored. I'm going to throw this to ringside to get this thing kicked off, so hold on, we got a special guest in the ring.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Here we go, baby.
Very nice.
Time.
Each one of these gentlemen have 2 minutes to talk about their position group if they need it. Chad, you are our guest. You are going to go first. You are on the clock now for the defensive line. Let's go.
All right. Well, I mean, I know this year it's going to be a little bit different only because, we've lost a couple, but overall there we re-signed Chris Jones. We've got, well, that's obviously the biggest one, and you can't go wrong with that. We had to bring him back. We've got, a lot of experience there. Derek Nottie, Mike Pinnell, Wharton, those have got a lot of experience in there, even though they're relatively young. But they still got, bringing time there, except for Pinnell and of course, Chris Jones. They're adding the veteran leadership there. But, I really think that it's going to be, I really think that they will, and for the most part, be intact there. So I think it'll be a good season for them. Hopefully Chris Jones will be able to, get to the quarterback and, do his thing and he'll have some good support around him. So, I really think that they will I think they're going to have a good season, and I probably give a slight edge to probably Kansas City on this one, maybe like a 10-9. You could convince me. Maybe I know the frowned upon not a draw, but I think that. But I think that they're going to be solid. But I know Buffalo's got a good defensive front as well, and I'm really kind of curious to see what some of the the rookies and maybe even a couple of the free agents that they brought in that might be able to help. So, but I think overall, I think you probably kind of you could give me a push, but I think maybe a slight edge to Kansas City only because of the experience that they've got, especially playing in big games here lately. So that's at least my thought anyway.
All right. And just for everyone, I forgot to mention this. There is a gentleman who remains anonymous on the side of me. He sits every one of these shows. He wants to remain anonymous. He is keeping a card using PFF. And so at the end of this battle, not only will we have the card that these two gentlemen have scored, we'll have a card that they haven't seen, they know nothing about, and that will be included in the final score and could determine this winner. So Jake, he's coming out right away, and he's throwing a big. He's trying to hit you hard over the head with that one, and he's saying they're saying the Chiefs' defensive line is better than the Bills' defensive line. Let's see. You're on the clock, my friend. Let me rewind the clock here for you to 2 minutes,
Certainly.
and let's see what.
First off, real quick, pause it because I want to address this first.
Go
Time
ahead.
for UFL football, aka Birmingham Stallions fan, aka Battlehawks, aka a ton of other names. Listen. Your Stallions, your Birmingham Stallions got a three-peat, the first team in USFL and UFL history to record a three-peat. So shout out to them, Scott. Shout out to Skip Holtz. Yes, I did watch the game. It was a tough one, man. 25-0, just a total blowout. But wild to see Wade Phillips still coaching football for the San Antonio Brahmas. This guy is in his 80s, and he's still doing his thing out there. Leads his team to a championship. Unfortunately, didn't turn out well for them. But yeah, pretty damn impressive.
Awesome.
So got to give that a shout out first. But yes, let's get right into it, Mike. So I think when you talk about the defensive line, obviously you got to factor in, the depth pieces. And I love what the Bills did in the offseason to add depth. Most recently adding Dwayne Smoot. We drafted Dwayne Carter in the 3rd round. We signed Austin Johnson, Deshaun Williams as well. So some veteran guys that are going to come in and probably be more of a rotational piece for us, which I'm fine with. That's what the Bills have typically done in the past. It's going to be an interesting season because AJ Epinesa is finally going to get a shot to finally be that starter that we wanted him to be. He's always been a rotational guy. But this year it seems pretty solidified that he's going to be our starting defensive end, him and Greg Rousseau, and then Von Miller will come in to just kind of fill in on pass rushing downs. It's an interesting group. And by the way, we drafted a kid in the 5th round who I love, Javon Solomon. I'm a big fan of him. So I think with that being said, you factor in the depth pieces, it makes this battle a little bit closer. I think when you look at the starters across the board, you guys probably have the upper edge. Karlaftis versus Greg Rousseau, I'd take Karlaftis. This dude just wreaks havoc nonstop. He just gets the quarterback no matter what. Relentless. 10.5 sacks this past year, coming off a phenomenal season. A lot of young talent there as well with him. Chris Jones is obviously the guy that stands out. He's one of the best defensive tackles in football, if not the best defensive tackle in football. You guys were able to re-sign him, which is enormous. And I like Daquan Jones, but I don't put him in the same league as Chris Jones. I just think that those dudes, while Daquan is great, he's a totally different type of player than Chris Jones. Chris Jones can play nose. He can play any position on the defensive line, so he gives you that versatility. I love Eddie Oliver, and I think he definitely has an edge over a guy like Derek Nottie. Derek Nottie's a good player, but Eddie Oliver to me is still a top 5 defensive tackle in football. And then, I think you guys have Mike Dana as your other starting defensive end, and then we have AJ Epinesa. So this is kind of a close one to me. This might be more of a wash. So then you go to the depth pieces. You guys drafted a kid in the 1st round last year, Felix Anaduki-Uzama, who, we don't really know what's going to happen with him, but solid depth piece. Of course, he can come in, and I think eventually he will be a starter on this team. It's only a matter of time. You mentioned Mike Pinnell, Tershawn Wharton, and then you got Charles Amenahu too, which that dude comes alive in the playoffs all the time. For our depth pieces, I mentioned a few of those dudes, being Dwayne Smoot and Von Miller, of course, Javon Solomon, just as some of those guys. I think it's a lot closer than a lot of people think, but I'm going to give you guys the edge just because you do have a guy named Chris Jones. I'm going to go 10-9 Chiefs on this one. Sorry, Mike. I took a lot of time on that one. And you're on mute, sir.
Yeah, you did. As the moderator, I'm going to let this one slide, but I'm going to be a lot more
There's a lot, like I said, a
going
lot of
forward.
depth on both
There's a lot.
sides for both teams.
Yeah.
You know, PFF, and
Yeah.
I'm going to, I need to explain this. PFF is Pro Football Focus. It's a tool out there for those that don't know what I'm talking about. It's a subscription tool. And basically what they do is they grade. They have a person watch the games and they grade them in different areas. Coverage, like for instance, if it's a cornerback, they give them coverage, run support, they give them an overall grade. Obviously, the higher the grade, 90 plus. And I think I've seen some 90 pluses. There's a couple gentlemen in this game that were rated a 90 plus and then working their way down. I think the lowest I've seen in this particular battle was in the 50s. So the grade, PFF, this gentleman over here, he only uses starters. He says, I'm not factoring in these depth pieces. Yes, we know we'll probably need some of them, but he's only using starters. So keep that in mind. I will give those. He will give those. He hands them to me, and then I'll tell you what PFF scored every one of these position groups when we get there. So
How about this,
Weston,
10-9 Bills.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, Jake, you've already played your hand,
Mhm.
and you've given the Chiefs a 10-9 round on this one. You know, Jake takes a lot of heat for giving up these battles that are extremely close. We'll see what PFF says when we get there. But again, this guy gets a little excited sometimes, but he's going to, hold it together until the end. All right. We're going to go into the linebackers. And Jake, you are first to talk about the linebackers. You have 2 minutes. You're on the clock now.
This is another close one. I think when you look at the starting linebackers for each team, I mean, you guys got Drew Tranquil, who really came alive during the playoffs last year. Thought was a tremendous signing for you. Nick Bolton, who when healthy, to me is a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. This dude is a tackling machine. So damn good. Mizzou guy too, Chad. I know you love that.
Absolutely.
And then you guys have Leo Chanel as well. I think where the Bills separate a little bit here, being that our starters are Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, I think when you look at those guys compared to your guys, it's somewhat close, but I'll take our guys with a slight edge. And then where we separate a little bit more is with our depth pieces. So we actually drafted Dorian Williams last year, who I think is going to get a little bit better with time here. He's very raw. He's coming into a new system. It takes some time for him to learn. I think he's going to be a nice rotational piece here in the future. And then you look at some other dudes for us. We drafted Edifon Olafosio. We signed Nick Morrow, Deion Jones. And when we have a guy named Balin Spector too, who I really like. I think he makes up for his athleticism with his heart and his ability, his high IQ, his ability to be in the right place at the right time. So I think across the board, just because of that, I'm going to give the Bills the linebacker room here. And also, we're returning an all-pro in Matt Milano. And then Terrell Bernard coming off a phenomenal sophomore season. So I'm going to give us a slight edge there. I'm going to go 10-9 Bills here.
All right. Jake, I also want to say, you mentioned, I can't say his name, Olafosio. How do you say that?
You like that, huh? I did 2 big names today. Felix Anaduki Uzama and then Edifon Olafosio. There you go.
So what reason I want to mention him is because I caught a podcast yesterday, and I think it's someone who's affiliated with PFF. They did a nice breakdown on the Bills. They went top to bottom, and they talked about their draft, and they absolutely loved that linebacker. They said they had him as the 3rd overall linebacker in the draft. So they're excited about him. Great depth piece. But Chad, you're on the clock now for 2 minutes. Jake says it's Bills winning this one, 10-9. What do you got to say about that, sir?
Well, I do agree, and made some notes here before I came on. And, when I started going through initially, I kind of had it as a draw, thinking, maybe it was kind of a wash, like we mentioned earlier, but I really do think that probably Buffalo has the edge here. I know we lost Willie Gay Jr. to the Saints, so I know that's a little bit of a depth piece there that we lost. But like you did mention, with the linebacker groups we have, especially with Nick Bolton when he's healthy, is just a beast throughout there. He can play. He plays it pretty well. Drew Tranquil was just an absolute must to re-sign, and when he signed a 1-year deal, basically he bet on himself and he won. And, so I really think that, with Leo Chanel, I think that's going to be, he's obviously another piece too. And we drafted a couple players there. I couldn't even remember what we had. Well, no, they may not have been drafted. They may have been, I think they might've been UDFAs, but,
you guys got Curtis Jacobs out of Penn State.
Curtis Jacobs. Yeah. It doesn't say there. I was looking at The one there that I wasn't sure on was where is he? LaQuay Washington. There, I hadn't really heard of him, so
Okay.
I wasn't for sure, if he was a UDFA or not.
Small
But
school kid. Small school
yeah,
kid.
Central Connecticut. Yeah. So obviously Drew will be out on a couple of those guys there, but I think with having, I know people probably figured that Willie Gay was the odd man out, but I think in the end it's probably going to kind of hurt us a little bit. So, yes, Nick Bolton was, immense for our defense, but Willie Gay made up for that, and now not having that, and to say, let's, God forbid, I hope nothing does, but if something happens to Nick Bolton, who you got to turn to? So that's why I'm really hoping there that something's going to develop out of one of these guys here to, kind of take over that spot, because you're more than likely get a chance to get thrown into the fires. So, like I said, I also had it here notches for linebackers 10-9 Buffalo. And and just real quick there, you guys get Matt Milano back is going to be huge.
Yeah.
That
definitely.
he was missing. He was missing, and if you guys probably would have had in the playoff game, it could have made a difference. But that's just my opinion. So
I agree with that. And Weston, we did lose Tyrell Dotson to Seattle, so we don't have him anymore. So Dorian Williams is like the likely. Well, actually, we signed some dudes to maybe replace him or drafted with Edufwan Olafosio. So yeah, we don't have Tyrell Dotson anymore.
It's funny how people look at him a little different now after the year.
I know, right?
Because at the beginning of the year last year, fans were like, "This guy's got to go," and he had a very good season for us, filling in for Milano. So good stuff there. So Buffalo takes the linebacker round 10-9. We got a close one here, according to these two guys. Not sure if PFF's agreeing with them, but we'll find out later. We're going to get to the cornerbacks now. Moving to the cornerbacks, Chad, you are on the clock for 2 minutes.
Well, after going through this offseason here of we had, and obviously losing L'Jarius Sneed is a big loss. I mean, he was arguably the best cornerback in the league, and how he was, and I have no idea. But you got, with Trent McDuffie being back there, you're going to have, Joshua Williams there, which is, up and coming there. Also, Devin Bush there was a big fill in as well whenever we really needed him, especially in the playoffs. So, and with Shamari Connors, I think that's also a huge one there, or Shamari Connor, I should say. Sorry, there's sometimes that southern part there with the S goes on the end of everything. But I think that with having them, I think it's still a solid group. It'll be interesting to see on how well they do fill L'Jarius's role with Shamari Connors. So, because more than likely, I'm saying he's probably going to be the one that takes over that spot. But Joshua Williams also has a chance too. I thought he played overall. I thought he had a pretty good year last year. He was susceptible to one-on-one, which that's why it was nice to have L'Jarius Sneed, because then you didn't really have to play him. You didn't really have to put him on a lot of those guys that would be a threat down the field. So, obviously now that's going to draw the assignment of Trent McDuffie. So, which he's still one of the best ones in the league, I think, regardless there. And man, they struck gold when they drafted him. So, but I think, and I know with Buffalo losing, I'm sorry. They're, I'm sorry. I'm thinking I'm sorry. I was trying to jump ahead. I was thinking safeties, not corners. Yeah. So my bad. I was trying to jump ahead. Yeah. I'm probably going to give, I'd probably give it like a 10-9 edge to Kansas City on this one, only because, with who we have with McDuffie, it's a little bit unknown with Shamari Connor, but I think he's going to fit well. So I think overall they've got an athletic group there. So I would think I'd give a close edge. Like I said, I think Kansas City 10-9.
All right. Interesting. Jake, you're on the clock, sir.
Yeah, it's a close one with corners. I think you guys have an absolute stud in Trent McDuffie. He's coming off an all-pro season. It is crazy, though. You look at his interception numbers, has not registered an interception in the NFL yet. But that's because no one really throws his way. And when someone does, it just either a pass deflection or he gets physical and he makes the receiver drop a pass or whatever. You know what I mean? Or, yeah, it's just a terrible throw. What he does, I mean, he reminds me a lot of Jair Alexander, actually. I think that was actually a player comp for him actually coming into the league, too. And he's an absolute stud, man. Had an all-pro year, like I said. So that's obviously your guy. But then you look at the other dudes, Najee Johnson potentially starting for you guys this year, Shamari Connor at nickel. I think this is where you guys lack a little bit. I'm not saying I don't believe in those dudes, but a little less experience, and I don't think they're as good as our guys. Like when you look at the starters, Rasul Douglas played at a Pro Bowl level last year, and hopefully they work out a contract with him because they need to make that happen. He's an absolute stud. And then everyone forgets about Taron Johnson, arguably the best nickel corner in football. This dude just got paid heavily, well deserved, and man, he's been playing at a high level for a few years now. And then our other guy, Christian Benford, I really like that kid a lot. He's really risen to the occasion every single time he's been called on. If he can stay healthy, he's a very solid corner in this league. Now, our depth pieces are interesting. You have Kaiir Elam, and then it's interesting because Kaiir and Trent McDuffie were in the same draft year. Kaiir Elam hasn't really panned out as well as Trent McDuffie. We're hoping that changes this year. We brought in a new DB's coach in Jaleel Adai. And I think he's going to do wonders with Kaiir Elam. He's had a tremendous mini camp session, some OTAs he's looked really good in. So I'm definitely encouraged by that. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I always compare him to Jimmy Smith, former corner for the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is going to be his breakout year, his third season here. He'll be a rotational guy, but I think he'll make some opportunistic plays. So I think with that being said, based on our depth, and then you look at the actual starters, I'm going to give the Bills the edge here, 10-9.
Interesting. So in this case, they're both wanting their teams to win, and if none of them is willing to budge, we will have our first 10-10 scored round.
Boy.
Fans will be booing out there. I wish I had a boo sound, boo, but I don't.
Yes, I wish you were here, brother. This would be good to, yeah. So he says this is a tie.
So, okay. Are you? So I'll just ask you real quick, Chad. Are you willing to budge or not? But did Jake sway you at all in your assessment there?
Not really. I still think they're with what we have.
Yeah.
With who we've got is still top notch, and I think it could go again. I mean, honestly, that's the reason why I kind of really have it really close there. I almost wanted to say a draw because I really think they are close. And when you compare to especially some of the games we played over the last, couple of years, especially the two, last season alone, I mean, I think both of them really held up pretty well. And so, like I said, but I think that we just have a little bit of an edge. I think the experience part, I think, will help a little bit some with the guys that we got. So, like I said, I just think we just have a little bit of a slight edge. But like I said, it's close. It really is.
All right, so we will score to 10-10. I do want to give a little more props to McDuffie. I know you said he didn't have any interceptions, which is completely true, but they blitzed that man. They blitzed that guy, and he's had 3 sacks, 7 hits, 6 hurries, 2 batted passes. So he brings that, right? They blitz him. We don't typically blitz our corners much at all, Jake. So he is that type of guy. So anyhow, I love it. 10-10. Fans may not like it. But it is what it is, and I love it. So next up, I think Chad started us off first. So we are now moving to the safeties. And Mr. Podger, first of all, let me end that round. Pretty debated. I don't know. PFF was over here saying, I don't know what these guys are smoking. He's a little upset. I'm sorry. Calm down. You'll have your time at the end of this.
I know they favor the Bills corners a lot.
But you know how to say, he's like, is Jake, he's done this 3 times now. He knows what PFF thinks about this Bills cornerback group. But tell you what, he hasn't ever said our group's better, except for this time. He said it's a tie at the very least. But
they are both of our cornerback rooms. I will say this: they are both the epitome of the next man up mantra. Both teams, they could just plug and play. And I think that's a testament to both of our defensive-minded coaches, Steve Spagnuolo being your guy, and then Sean McDermott, of course, being our guy, coming from that background of coaching up DBs. I think both of those guys have done a tremendous job with our corps on that side of the ball.
No, I agree. No, 100%.
All right, Jake, let's get it rolling here with the safeties. You are on the clock for 2 minutes, my friend.
Oh, man. Well, you guys got Justin Reed, who I know had a little bit of a down year. He's been a little banged up, but he's still a really, really good safety to me. You also got a huge freaking steal in the draft in Jaden Hicks, who was one of my favorite prospects. Somehow gets pushed back to the 4th round. I don't know how that happened, but you guys got an absolute stud in that kid. He's an up-and-comer, and I think that's something that you guys do a really, really good job of, is preparing yourselves for the future. This is something that the Bills can probably take some notes on. You guys will take even this year, you took a tackle in the second round just in case Wanye Morris doesn't work out. We'll get to that in a little bit. But it's like you look at even the safety room with Jaden Hicks. He will be a starting safety, I think, within a year or two. Like, he has the potential to be a Pro Bowl safety in this league, in my opinion. And I do like Brian Cook a lot. I think that dude is tremendous. You got him in, the second round 2 years ago or something like that?
2 years ago, his third year.
Yeah,
he's coming off ACL.
And we ended up taking Mike Edwards from you guys, who I like. I think he's an opportunistic player. I think he has the most pick sixes of any safety in the last 3 seasons of football. So that's impressive to me. I know he's going to be probably more of a rotational guy, because when you look at our safeties, we drafted a guy, Cole Bishop, who I actually like just a little bit more than Jaden Hicks. But if Cole Bishop wasn't our guy, I would have taken Jaden Hicks. I think Cole Bishop will be the starter. And to me, that was an A-plus pick. I love the pick of Cole Bishop, so I'm really excited about that. But he's a rookie, so it's hard to really judge on what's going to happen this year. And then on, you look at our other safety, Taylor Rapp, who had some growing pains coming here in Buffalo last year. He didn't really start either. He was a rotational piece, played a lot of dime where he was involved there. And, he's a good tackler, but I'm hoping this year he will return to form like he did in LA, because he was a really, really good safety in LA. And when we signed him, I was so excited because I thought we were going to get that exact replica player. And we didn't really get that last year, but I think he needs to just be the full-time starter at that position, and we'll see the return of that. But with that being said, I think with everything I just mentioned there, I'm going to give you guys the slight edge. I'm going to go 10-9 Chiefs on this one.
I do want to say, too, let me just bring this up now. So in a case where you think a rookie is going to win the battle in camp and be the starter, for instance, our lads has Cole Bishop slotted as, the guy who's going to start this year. What I did in those cases, and there was a case over on the Chiefs side as well. What I do is I said, all right, I don't have a score for Cole Bishop from last year, but I'm going to take four sample data groups. And I'm going to say, all right, give me the four second rounders that were safeties drafted in 2023. I take their average, and that's their score. So if there's another rookie on KC, I would do the same thing. I did it for both of our wide receivers. Xavier Worthy drafted in the first round, Kean Coleman drafted in the second round. You'll be surprised. I'll just put this out there right now. The second rounders actually won that grade, that average.
Wow.
So interesting stuff.
Wow.
Not by a lot, but I think someone's put it out there before that wide receivers after the first round, tend to do pretty well. So anyhow, interesting stuff here.
Look at Weston.
Safety, Jake,
Ooh,
I'm
baby.
sorry. Did you say?
I said 10-9 Chiefs.
You give them a slight edge. All right.
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, Chad, he's made it easy for you, but what do you want to add to that? You're on the clock.
Well, I also had 10-9 Kansas City, I think mainly because of what he just mentioned there, having a couple rookies that you drafted there to replace, two legends, in Buffalo. And I think that, there's going to be some growing pains with that. I mean, we had to experience it a few years ago with, losing Tyrann Mathieu and wanting to know what are we going to do? Who's going to be our leader in our defense? Well, we had Mike Edwards and we had him, and we also brought in Justin Reed. That kind of solidified, or at least brought in that leadership there that they really needed. And so now with you guys gaining Mark Edwards, I think that's going to be a big help for you guys. It's going to be a guy he's going to be able to take those couple kids underneath his wing and be able to kind of show them the ropes, if you will. And I do agree there. He's probably going to be a more rotational guy, maybe, third down there when you really, the money down, when you really need to stop. I think he's going to be a great Buffalo. I say he's going to be missed in Kansas City, I think. But I do think there that we do have probably the slight edge there on this one. Like I said, I had 10-9 as well because of Justin Reed and also getting Brian Cook back, because, man, losing him last year was really hurtful. But it also, thrusted in a few others there to, step up and, make that leap. And obviously we ended the season pretty well. So I agree there. I would probably say it's also a slight edge to Kansas City, but I think that Buffalo is probably in good hands. I think that was probably a smart move signing Mike Edwards there to get those young guys get somebody to lean onto and ask, because that's another word there is ask questions and learn. So I think that'll help them in the long run.
Alrighty. 10-9 round for the Chiefs in the safety room. Interesting stuff. I love it. This is a pretty close battle right now. We're going to move to the offensive side of things. And starting us off is going to be Mr. Chad the Chief,
Mhm.
talking about his offensive line. Here we go, Chad. Good luck.
Well, I think if anything, they're the biggest, I think, holes that we have would definitely be tackle, particularly left tackle. I still am not big on Jawan Taylor. I just don't know with what, maybe having another year under him in this offense will behoove him, going forward, and maybe he'll have a better campaign. I'm just not worried about that. I think the two guards that we have are just absolutely phenomenal. I think they're probably two of the best in football, and I don't think anybody could probably argue that. I mean, if they're not the best, they're definitely two of the best, probably out of a handful of teams in football. And also, I think, Creed Humphrey has been one of the best centers in the league as well. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is his snaps that he was sending back, and especially in the AFC Championship game there, where some of them, they were kind of those worm burners, if you will. So maybe we need to work on that some in the shotgun. But I think that I think overall, I think we'll be pretty good for most part. We're bringing everybody back. Wanye Morris, I think, is still going to be a work in progress. Being a rookie last year, I think that he's going to I think he's going to grow. I think he's going to learn. I would like to see them still bring in somebody that would be a little bit better, but who, I have no idea. I just think it's going to be, ride with what you got. And, just by even looking at Buffalo's roster, I mean, you're seeing, a few rookies that are in there that they drafted. And then also, you got some veterans in there too. And I think overall they're, losing our old center. I think Mitch Morris, I think that's going to be, that's your leader. I think that's going to be a little bit of a how do I want to call it, their learning gap, I think, for the new centers. So I think that's going to be different. It's going to be a different, you're going to have to listen to the cadence. You're going to do a lot of that. So I think they're going to have to gel a little bit. But I'd probably say give the edge to Kansas City. I'm going to say probably 10-9 just because of the overall experience. And I think the time that they spent together for the most part.
All right, fair enough there. Mr. Podger, you're on the board, and your time starts now.
Yeah, I won't argue that, Chad. I think you made a really good point. I mean, obviously losing Mitch Morris hurts a lot, and right now we're slated to start Connor McGovern at the center position, so he's moving from left guard to center. He had his best year as a pro at left guard last year, in my opinion, but now you're moving him to more of a foreign position, which he's played a little bit of. Specifically in college, I think a little bit in Dallas, but the Bills had a top 5 offensive line in football last year. I think a lot of people slept on their offensive line, but when you lose a guy like Mitch Morris, that is huge. And now you are essentially getting a new left guard and a new center at the starting positions. David Edwards is going to be our starting left guard as of right now, and then Connor McGovern is going to be our starting center. Now the hope is that we will eventually play Cedric Van Pran at the center position, who I thought we absolutely stole in the 5th round. I think he's going to be too good to keep off the field. Then you can kick Connor McGovern back to left guard to provide a little more continuity. So you have 4 of those 5 starters returning. I think this is a case where you have to almost go position by position with the starters. Because I think when you look at depth, they're somewhat similar here. But when you look at left tackle, I would definitely take Deion Dawkins over Wanye Morris or Kingsley Suamataia, who you guys took in the 2nd round. So I do think that we win left tackle position there. Left guard, you guys have Joe Thuney. We have David Edwards. I'm taking Joe Thuney all day, of course, right? When you look at centers, Creed Humphrey versus Connor McGovern, Creed Humphrey. Right guard, Osiris Torrance, while he played every single snap last year and was the only rookie to do so, by the way. Very promising career ahead, in my opinion. It's hard to take him over Trey Smith, who has the experience and started 50 games in the league. And I think is definitely one of the better guards in football too. So I'm going to give you guys that one too. And then right tackle, Spencer Brown coming off his best year as a pro versus Jawan Taylor, who had more of a down year last year. I think he was the most penalized tackle in football with like 19, and he led by a landslide in that. But don't forget, he signed a 4-year, $80 million contract with you guys for a reason. His time in Jacksonville, his past, I think, speaks volumes. And I think there's a lot of faith that he will be able to fix those woes. And he's going to be a really good right tackle for you guys here. So with that being said, I'm going to give you guys the edge. I'm going to go 10-9. I think the Bills still have a very good offensive line, but we have some gaps now that we got to take care of. So 10-9 Chiefs.
All right, 10-9 Chiefs. Let me go update the scorecard and the offensive line. Talk to the guys, and we're pretty much through 5 rounds right now. Jake, I know it's a close one, but you better start talking to our boys here.
I know.
Getting a little concerned.
Right?
Whatever you got to do. I mean, it's always important to have that cut man in the corner. We got some cuts. Get that healed up. Let's get going here. Go ahead and answer the question.
You're right.
Yeah.
Trent McDuffie. Yeah, I mean, I think people still not giving him enough love. I mean, he is one of the better top 5 corner in football, in my opinion. I think you guys got an absolute steal in him, and I'm a little upset. I wanted Kyrie Elam in that draft class, but I think you guys obviously have done a little bit better there, right? So, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Yep. We're going to move on to get over to the scorecard again real quick. Moving on into the tight end room. This is going to be interesting. Who did I start with last time, guys?
Love that, Weston.
Help me out.
Me, I believe.
Chad, yes. You started.
Yeah, I went with the line.
All right, Jake, bring the heat on this one. We need you to bring it, man. Talk to the boys. Let's go.
Listen.
Tight end. You got, what's her name out there? Tay. What's her name? I forget. So not only do you have Kelsey, but you have who?
They're a package deal.
Let's go, sir. You're on the clock. Hold on. Let's start it. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills, in all the previous gridiron battles, I've had the Bills winning this room by a landslide, but it's really hard to take their tight end room over the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a top 5 tight end in NFL history. And then you got guys like Noah Gray and Irv Smith, who you brought on, and Jared Wiley, who, by the way, I love that draft pick for you guys in the 4th round. Absolute freak athlete. I think you guys got a nice fill-in the future there with him. Now, the Buffalo Bills have a phenomenal tight end room. Maybe like neck and neck with the Chiefs here, right? You talk about Dalton Kincaid and what he did last year as a rookie. I think this dude's going to catch 100 passes this year. And by the way, people were saying that he is going to be the next Travis Kelce. So I love that optimism, of course, but he still has to do it. He still has to actually do it, right? And while it's promising, I don't put him on the same level as Travis Kelce. It's just no contest right now, unfortunately. Now we do have Dawson Knox, who is a former Pro Bowl tight end. He was banged up last year. He does a lot of really good things for us. He's our juice man on the offense, right? So he'll make an incredible play, and then he'll drop one of the easiest passes ever. So you want to see a little more consistency from him, but I obviously think he's probably the best tight end too in football. So phenomenal there. And then, Quentin Morris, I think a lot of people don't even realize how good of an athlete he is. This guy can come in and catch passes. He played receiver a little bit at Bowling Green, and he's done some nice things for us in clutch moments, actually. And I think he needs to get a little more usage. And I will predict that the Bills use a little 13 personnel this season. I think we're going to see 3 tight ends on the field on multiple occasions. So that'll be exciting. I think there's a lot that we can do there. But, overall, I think this is close. But I'm going to give you guys the edge here. I'm going to go 10-9 Chiefs.
All right.
I know, Mike. I couldn't do it. Sorry.
Oh, man. My goodness. I'm sweating. I'm starting to sweat over here. PFF over here. He's listening to this. Again, hold your horses. I know. He's chatting in my ear. Like, is this guy for the Bills? I say this all the time.
I know. Listen, you got to be real, though. You got to be honest.
I know. I like the realness. I like it. Chad, he's kind of handed it to you, but let's see. Do you want to even go bigger? Let's go. You're 2 minutes on the clock. Here we go.
No, I honestly had it 10-9 Kansas City as well as what I initially wrote down. I really would like to give it a draw. I don't want to do that, but I know we're not supposed to do that. So if I have to give an edge, I think just giving it to Kansas City over, like mentioned there with Travis Kelce. Irv Smith, I'm really kind of interested to see what happens with him and what he can do within this offense. And it'll really be interesting with the comments that Mahomes made there saying that we're going to throw the ball down the field, which I think should make everybody kind of scary there because they didn't do a lot of that last year. So, I think that he could be a part of that. Noah Gray's been there. He's been durable. He's been reliable. He's, come up with some big plays when we need it. So, but it's hard to go against, Kincaid and Dawson Knox because those 2 guys are just stellar. If I could pick one, if I could pick either one of those guys that would be on Kansas City, I'd take either one of them because I just think those guys they're just amazing and they're killers, they're backbreakers. When you need a few yards there, you can probably almost guarantee that if you get the ball to them, they're going to get it. So, but it's hard to go with a guy that's probably going to set about every record when it comes to tight end or even receivers there. Maybe get a chance to possibly catch up with Jerry Rice, who would ever thought on any of that stuff there of any of his records that he'd have. But I just think that overall, I really think like I said, you got to give the edge, I think, to Kansas City just for, Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. Like I said, as much as I really weird to say, but, I think he was, like I said, I think he was a big part, but I really see with what Erskine does. And like you mentioned with Wiley there, I think it'll be interesting to see what he can learn. And also, who knows, he might be able to step into some roles there. But, yeah, I think also Kansas City's probably, like I said, I would give it 10-9 also. But it's hard. It's tough.
Right.
I mean, those two guys for Buffalo are just stellar. They really are.
10-9, and I only give the edge because of Taylor Swift. It's the only reason I give you the edge. But anyhow, again, PFF chatting in my ear. He's like, "Oh my goodness,
she's a witch, so she's probably bringing all the aura with her here." Yeah.
Yeah,
Jake, I'm telling you, talk to them in the corner. We need something to change quickly. Talk to them.
Bleeding, it's hard to stop.
Inject them with something illegal. I don't know what you got to inject them with. Give them something. Give them something. We got to finish these 4 rounds strong. Got to go for the knockout. Let's go. Anyhow, next on the board is the wide receiver group. This is an interesting one. Both of these teams have wide receivers that were drafted this year that are going to be starters. And again, just so you know, like I said, I don't have PFF scores. So PFF said, hey, we're going to use, if they are drafted in the first round, we'll pick 2023 first round wide receivers, get their average. If they drafted in the second round, like our guy was King Coleman, we'll take the second rounders drafted in 2023 and average their score. 4 of them. We wanted 4 data points. So here we go. Let's get into the wide receivers. And Chad, it's on you, man. Here we go.
Oh boy. Well, I'm trying to forget last year. So, I really think with the addition of Hollywood Brown is just huge to be able to get the ball downfield, and please God, just let him catch it. So I really think that's going to be that. Like I mentioned earlier, when they said they're going to try to get the ball down the field, they really need to. They got to push it there. That's really what made them successful when Mahomes came in the league, is get the ball down the field. But you got to have people that can catch. So hopefully he can do that. I'm really, really wanting to see with what maybe Kadarius Toney can come back, maybe break redeem himself, if you will. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in him either. But having a hopefully a good Rashid Rice there to build off of what he had last year. I'm just going to throw out all the other stuff there that's happened, for the other thing here. At least right now, I'm just looking at it from that standpoint there. I'm hoping there that he can hopefully be on the field enough to make some good plays and build off with what he did last year, because he really had a successful rookie campaign. So, and obviously Xavier Worthy, getting him going with this offense and seeing with what he can do, especially with that, that sub 4.3 speed, 40-yard dash speed there. I'm really going there. And I know that Buffalo went and is also kind of doing their rebuild as well. I don't want to call rebuild or retool there. I know you got MVS now. You've got Shakur. You've got
Samuel.
Yeah, Samuel. That's right. That's the other one. I know you lost. I know they traded Stephon Diggs there. That's a hurt. That's a leadership role that's going to hurt. So, because one, you believe it or not, he definitely did help. But I'm going to give the edge 10-9 Kansas City, only because of who they've got for pieces and how with that speed that they have there. And I haven't even mentioned all the others. I know McCall Hardman. I'm not too big up on him, or I'm not surprised they didn't re-sign him. But I just, like I mentioned before, he doesn't move the needle for me. But I think getting Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy will. So like I said, I think it's going to be. I think I'll go 10-9 Kansas City.
Jake, is it possible we can get Weston on? Can we swap out Weston and Chad right now?
Weston's giving the Bills a lot of. Maybe Weston with me.
I mean, Weston.
Yeah.
Oh man! By the way, happy Father's Day, Weston. All right, so Jake, he's saying the wide receiver room goes to the Chiefs. What do you got to say about this, young man? You are, let me get this clock rewound.
Yeah.
You are on the clock now.
There's forever going to be comparisons with the Bills and Chiefs receivers room, specifically because the Bills traded with the Chiefs in the NFL draft this year. And we took 2 rookie wide receivers with those picks. So Xavier Worthy versus Keon Coleman. What's going to happen there? I think you got to almost call that a wash because they're both rookies. You can argue over who's maybe more pro ready, but neither of them have actually taken a snap in the NFL. So it's hard to really say. So then you look at the other outside receivers, and then the slot receiver position, right? So you guys bring in Marquise Hollywood Brown, who was 2 years removed from a 1,000-yard season in Baltimore. And I'll tell you what, I think he disappointed a little bit in Arizona. People expected to get that explosive player that they saw in Baltimore, and maybe the Ravens had an idea of what was to come in the future. I think he battled some hamstring issues, so that, of course, hurts explosiveness a little bit. I still think he's a very solid receiver, and obviously he's got tenure here in the NFL. And then, Curtis Samuel, I think, is a good player. He hasn't eclipsed that 1,000-yard mark just yet. He's been definitely more of a gadget-type player throughout the course of his career, but he had his best season as a pro under Joe Brady in 2020. But the thing is, for both of these guys that we're talking about, Marquise Brown and Curtis Samuel, they had their best seasons as pros a few seasons ago. So you don't really know what to expect moving forward here. You can only hope that they're gonna build off of what they've done and have a better year because they're in a new situation. So I think that's really close. And then Rashee Rice, I don't really know what's going to happen there with you guys. I mean, I would assume he's going to be suspended. You just don't know how long that's going to be for. And then Khalil Shakir, man, like, I'm very high on him. I think he obviously did some great things last year. He had like almost a 90% catch rate for the targets compared to catches, which is just bananas. It definitely was in the 80s. I know that. He's been working really hard with Eric Moulds this offseason. The depth pieces, it's crazy. I've heard Chase Claypool is doing amazing things in camp. I'm excited about it. Hopefully he can get back to what he was as a rookie. But I just feel like with you guys, you even look at some of the backup players that you have, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, and I know people weren't probably super high on him, Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman you bring back. I think your depth pieces are just a little bit better and have that playoff experience and experience in big games. And I know we have MVS, but to me, I'm going to give you guys the edge because of that. So I'm going to go 10-9 Chiefs here. Not saying either of our rooms are elite or anything like that, but if the Chiefs have proven anything, it's that you don't need to have an elite wide receiver room to win a Super Bowl. That's true. So that's the positive takeaway, but I'm going to go 10-9 Chiefs. Sorry, Mike.
All right. He's apologizing to me. He's apologizing to the whole Bills Mafia. What we got? We got lots of comments out there. Is that mostly Weston? Because I can't keep an eye on the comments this show. But hold on, I got to take before we move forward. I got to take a drink.
He's going 10-9 Bills on this, by the way, Weston.
Yeah.
Again. Wow.
I mean, you could almost maybe convince me to kind of really do the same, only because both we talk about neither wide receiver room is really stellar. It's not like they've got a true stud. If you have a couple of true studs, then I could be, you could sway one or the other. But really, we both got some unproven wide receivers on both this team. So that's why I really think tight end, is probably going to be the key, I do think, this year.
For the offense.
Until they get their legs underneath of them.
Yeah. I like what Weston is saying here. I think he's spot on. And again, you don't really know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice. So I think that's the biggest question mark, of course. But if you're looking just plainly right now with Rashee Rice in the lineup, you guys probably have the edge for sure.
Yeah. And I agree with what Weston's saying there at the very end. If the Bills still had Diggs, he would have been blown out. I would agree, because that's a proven wide receiver that's been there for long there. We just don't have that. And I definitely would have gave the edge to Buffalo if he'd still had Stephon Diggs, for sure.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm tearing up. I'm looking at the scorecard right now. I'm tearing up about that here on Father's Day. And I shouldn't be tearing up on Father's Day. But boy, oh boy, Jake, at this point, man, you better have a hard conversation with these guys. We basically have 3 rounds to go. We're going to be talking about the running backs right now. And I think who finished this up? That was Chad?
I went first. Yep.
You went first. So, Jake, you're going to be talking first. So let me end that round if I didn't already. Let's go. And we're going to be getting into the running back room. Jake, you got anything for us here? Bring the heat, baby. Let's go. Running backs, you're on the clock.
I'm going to bring the heat. I think a big reason why the Buffalo Bills won that regular season game against the Kansas City Chiefs this past year is obviously because of James Cook. So I do want that to be known. And I think when you match up Isaiah Pacheco versus James Cook, I know I'm wearing a Rutgers hat. Let's cover that up. Isaiah Pacheco went to Rutgers.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't because of that. I just timed it wrong. I'm going to give the Bills the slight edge here, and here's why. James Cook, 1,000-yard back last year, a lot to build off of, not as much usage, obviously, at the college level. I think he's got a very bright future here in Buffalo, and he is going to be that guy. He's going to be RB1 worthy in fantasy this year. He's going to do a lot of great things. With Joe Brady running the offensive system here too, I think it only benefits him. Now, if he works a little bit on his hands, because I've heard he's already had some woes in OTAs, but OTAs mean nothing. It's routes versus air, and you're going up against your own teammates. It's just practice, right? So get all the kinks out right now. Come regular season, catch every single pass thrown to you. Then we go ahead and we draft Ray Davis in the 4th round, who at first I was like, running back, but I watched some tape on this kid, and, what he did at the college level to me is super impressive. This kid played at 3 different schools, and he was productive at every single school he went to, and he's a touchdown vulture. So I could actually see him stealing some touchdowns away from James Cook this season. Can catch passes out of the backfield. He runs really, really well. A lot of discipline, great vision. So I like what I see out of that kid. And then, by the way, we still have Ty Johnson. So Ty Johnson did some nice things for us last year. Now, the Chiefs, you guys got Isaiah Pacheco. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Did McKinnon officially retire? I think he did, right? Jarek McKinnon?
He did.
Or he's hinted at that.
No, he's hinted at it, but I don't think he's officially done it.
He hasn't officially.
I don't think so.
And you guys got that kid out of the foreigner, Luis Rees-Zammit, too, the rugby player.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to make the team, but it's definitely an intriguing prospect. And then I think you got a bunch of other just UDFAs or players that really haven't had a ton of experience in the league as your other backs. So I think the Bills are going to take a slight edge here. I'm going to go 10-9 Bills, Mike.
All right. Crowd stands and cheers. The loud roar comes out of Highmark Stadium, because there's people in Highmark watching this right now on the big screen. They're watching this show. I think I've even heard in KC there's people at the stadium watching this. So big battle going on. There's no playoff games tonight. There's no NBA. There's no hockey. So what else do they got to watch but Nickel City Mafia right here on the Rush Hour? So let's go. I always forget to say this. If you're new to the channel, and even if you're not new, smash that like button for us. It helps go a long way with getting our channel out to the public. So we appreciate that. Hey, if you like what you're seeing right now, drop a nickel on that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it.
Weston going 10-8 here.
Ooh, and again here we got a Discord channel, so free to join it. I promise you'll have if you like to interact and you like to talk football and other things, join it. We can talk 24/7 for the most part. All right. So Jake, you're giving the Bills a 10-9 edge here. Chad, what's your thoughts? Your 2 minutes on the clock begins now.
Well, what I had written down, and you wouldn't be able to see it on here, I had 10-9 Buffalo as well. I just thought that Buffalo, basically James Cook, like you mentioned there, I mean, that's pretty much the reason why they won that game in the regular season, because of him. And really, in the playoffs for the first half there, that he was pretty much in, and all of a sudden they got away from it, and I don't understand why. But I honestly thought there that, I mean, Isaiah Pacheco was great in the playoffs there. I thought when we really needed those tough yards, I mean, no bigger than he is. I mean, he ran like he was Christian Okoye in some of those runs where he gave those mean runs. But I just think there the lack of ability to, for one, basically with like what Weston said, he kind of stole the words there, but it's quality of depth. I just don't see it on this team. That's the reason why I was really hoping there we'd find a running back to get in the free agent market there. I would have loved to had King Henry, but I know they weren't going to pay for what he wanted. But God, I would have loved to had him in red and gold. I think that would have been amazing. But with CEH, not real, he's okay, but it's just, God, it's still amazing that they got him as a first round pick. And I think you just got some unproven players that have, that they've signed that are you just don't know much about. So I almost wanted to even give a 10-8 Buffalo, but I at least had to go 10-9 on that, just because, just like I mentioned, I mean, James Cook he's great, and I'd take him over really, if any of the day there, especially with over Edwards-Helaire and in the others. So, like I said, I'm agreeing. I'll go 10-9 Buffalo as well.
All righty. Good job.
And we have a
again.
fullback. And we have a
Yes.
fullback, by the way.
And you have a fullback. We used to until we decided to get rid of ours.
I know, Michael Burton.
We had, we had the sausage,
right?
and then we had the bratwurst, which is what Mitch Holthus called them there. So the sausage and then the bratwurst, and now we got rid of both. So
I love that.
I know. I thought it was funny too. So, but yeah, if I think it'd be nice if we still had a fullback there, because I think because I honestly, we just don't really have anybody that come out of the backfield and catch the ball. I just don't think. Pacheco might, but he's just not as good as what James Cook can come out of the backfield catching the ball. And we really need that, especially I think in this type of offense where they're going there. That's the reason why I just not real high on the running back room for sure.
All righty. That ends that round. I think I already did that. Maybe I did. I'm just so excited because we finally won a round here. So I had to ring it twice if I did.
Man,
sorry, folks.
I'll tell you who's going to murder me in the comments
is
is our boy Sean.
He's
going to be all over me.
Well, listen. We're down to the final 2 rounds here, folks. Final 2 rounds. I hope you got enough popcorn. I hope you don't have to leave to go to the restroom. Worst thing you can do in a movie and a boxing match is leave for any time. Because now we're going to get into I love this debate, but I know who's going to win it, but it's not, most other teams, this is a knockout. Not so much here in this one. I know it's going to win her, but let's go. I think, Chad, I handed this to you on a silver platter because you were talking smack right before the show. And Jake joined and you told him what you were going to say. Let's see if you back it up and say it again. You are on the clock. We're talking quarterbacks. You have 2 minutes, my friend. You're on.
All right. So here's what I said. 3 Super Bowl wins, 4 Super Bowls total, 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Done. Do I need to say any more?
Well, you do need to say one thing
I honestly had 10-7. I called a knockout here, but I changed my mind. That's what I had. I had to change it. I did kind of go 10-8. So because I do think Josh Allen's still a stud. He's still a guy that can get mobile. He can sling the ball around, just as well as anybody. And he's definitely got some good weapons to throw to, especially, with the 2 tight ends. So, and to be honest there, I think you guys kind of in the same boat when it comes to the backup because, next man up is what we talked about before. And I'm kind of wanting to see with what Carson Wentz will do, as I'm assuming he'd be the backup. So, I want to see with what happens there. But, and I know that, who was it? You signed Trubisky, I think, again
Mitchell.
For the second
He's
time.
back.
Yeah, he's back. So, obviously proven and is always going to be linked with Mahomes there because, Chicago had their chance to take him and they didn't. So, in Mahomes, so they didn't. So they'll always be linked together. So I think that, but I still think that you got to have a good, solid overall quarterback room. But I mean, when as some of these wrestling terms are the head of the table, it's right now, at least when it comes to the league, it's Patrick Mahomes. But I have it 10-8 Kansas City mainly because of the success. But it's still, like I said, Josh Allen is definitely one of the, I'd say top 3 quarterbacks in the league. And I think that, you're always in the game when you've got 17, under center, you're never out of it. And if there's any team that usually scares me, it's Buffalo because they have Josh Allen. Because like I said before, that's who I wanted Kansas City to draft. If they didn't draft Patrick Mahomes there, I wanted them to draft Josh Allen because I watched his games in Wyoming on those late games, which I love watching late college football games. And I was like, man, watching those 60-yard bombs, in the air. And I'm thinking, man, Kansas City needs a guy like that. And I said, that's who I want. So like I said, if it wasn't for Mahomes, that's who I wanted. So, but with the success, I got to give 10-8 Kansas City, but still it's a tough one. So, because like I said, I still think he's probably top 3 in the league you got 2 of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league in those 2.
All right. Well, listen, I got a text message here from a close source. Both Josh and Mahomes are watching the show right now.
All right.
So, Jake, you need to bring it I mean, as Jessica says, Jessica, great to see you. I always love seeing you out there. I mean, who's beat Pat Mahomes the most in the NFL? Who's beaten him the most? A quarterback. I don't know. I mean, he's got 3 wins, Josh Allen. I don't know if any.
I think it's
is there any other
Josh.
quarterback that has more than him? I'm not
Maybe
sure.
Tom Brady. Maybe Tom Brady.
Maybe Brady in it. I don't know. We'll have to look at that. But
Brady's beaten him twice.
All right. So there you go.
So, yeah. So Josh,
but
maybe.
Jake, he's calling it a knock down. He first was saying knock out.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Your 2 minutes on the clock begins now.
I know the accolades, right? That speaks for itself. But I think you look at the individual. Teams win Super Bowls. The individual can help lead them there and put them in the best position to get there. So I think what Josh Allen has done in the playoffs is more than enough to put the Bills in position to win, and they should have won some of those games. When you talk about the reasons why they were let down, I don't put that on JA-17. I put it more on coaching, defense, and other stuff. I mean, Josh Allen's touchdown interception ratio, people talk about his turnovers too, even. I think he's got like 21 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions in the playoffs too, 2,600 yards. Pat Mahomes, same category. His numbers are insane, and he has the wins to follow. So, but I think really when you look at the individual players, it's almost like the old Manning versus Brady debate. Brady had the wins, but both of them as quarterbacks, they're right there, right? And I think Peyton was a little sexier because, like, he put up the big stats. He had, he just had the fundamentals. He had that traditional, like, quarterback build, and the way he did everything was the way a quarterback should do it. I think with Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, both of them are the 2 best improvisers in football too. I think they are extremely close when you look at the abilities, the physical traits. There's 2 quarterbacks in the league that can make every single throw, and it's Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. Statistically, Josh Allen does have the most touchdowns out of any quarterback ever in his first 6 seasons as a pro. So again, just talking individually, and I know stats only go so far, but I think that should kind of speak volumes. He gives his team a chance to win always. And I think they don't have the same amount of support that the Chiefs do. So with that being said, I'm going to still give you the dub here, but I'm not going 10-8, Chad. I'm going to go 10-9 Chiefs. Okay. I think Josh Allen's number 2 to Pat Mahomes, by the way. But hopefully in the future, we'll see. Got to win 3 Super Bowls, though, at least.
Yeah. So the way it works, Chad, unfortunately, both guys have to agree on the score. He's giving you the round. The lowest we can go is 10-9 at this point. So 10-9 it will be. We'll see what PFF says. I do like what Jake said. I mean, it's not Pat Mahomes against Josh. People put it that way, but it's a team sport. And that game last year was, I mean, anytime these 2 teams meet, everybody wants to watch it. That's why everyone's watching this show right now. When they see Chiefs versus Bills, it's game on. So
it is.
And
this is a good battle
honestly,
here.
Yep. Yeah. And like I said, you can convince me to go 10-9. I mean, I'm not gonna, cry over spilled milk on that one. So, I could see that one. And it's honestly there. It's usually must see TV. And I mean, when these 2 go at it, and as I mentioned in the comments, as I mentioned in the Discord, and I've probably brought up, I haven't brought it up here, I guess, but honestly, it is a 13-second play or a 13-second time, and an overtime, game touchdown or overtime touchdown throw in the divisional round, and a field goal away there from this being flipped.
So close.
I mean, it really is. I mean, it's been that close, and that's why I said they're probably 2 of the 3 best in the league. And they want to give the whole Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts crap there. I'm sorry, no, they're not.
They're not in the same league.
These 2,
they're not.
No, they're not. And and that's the reason why I said there. If there's any team that I fear the most, and I know you could put Lamar Jackson maybe in there too.
Sure.
I just don't. I only don't, only because you nailed it when you mentioned they're the 2 guys that can probably make the most that can improvise the most and make about every throw there is. Those 2 guys there. That's why I said if there's any team that I fear the most of going anywhere in the playoffs, it's Buffalo, and because they have Josh Allen, and he can throw about, like I said, he can do about anything. So that's the reason why. That's why I get nervous. That's why I said it can't. you wouldn't, you could twist my arm to make it, 10-9. Like I said, I'm not gonna cry over that. I just think that it's those two are just two of the best. So
yeah, and unfortunately,
it's
it
crazy.
is like when you judge a quarterback on his career, that does come up. It's like, how many rings does he have? And if they don't have the rings, it's tough to argue, right? So
and to that argument, exactly, and to that argument, if that were the case, if we just went off that, Dan Marino would never be mentioned as one of the greatest of all time.
True.
Never would.
Yep.
And because guess what? He went to one Super Bowl his rookie year and then never went again.
Yeah.
And because they all thought that he would get there. So to me, it's just, even you got to even say sometimes even Brett Favre. Brett Favre, okay, he won one Super Bowl, but that's it. He went to two. He won one. But, a lot of people consider him one of the greatest.
Peyton Manning only won two.
Peyton Manning, he won two. Yeah, exactly.
And so about Aaron Rodgers too, only won one.
Yeah, they think he is. Yeah. That's why I think it's laughable when I hear the guy that's on FS1 say that the Jets are by far the best team in the AFC. They're the number one overall seed coming in, and they have the best quarterback in the NFL. And I'm like, okay, just keep talking. He's 41 years old. Keep talking. Because I would take any guy. I'd take Josh Allen. I'd take any of the other guys that we mentioned over Aaron Rodgers right now, because it's not because he doesn't have the ability, it's because of the age. So that's what I said there. But Buffalo, Kansas City, it's just been must-see TV, and obviously NFL Network's been doing it because they did it all day yesterday, playing all the games that they've had. So I don't know what that was about, but they played it all day yesterday. I thought it was interesting.
Chad, I gotta yeah, thank you. Josh IQ, love it. See, I don't know if that's I told you Josh was watching this. I don't know. This might have been the gentleman right here. Maybe he's using this name. But
saying Chad, he is the second best. This is Josh Allen. This is Josh Allen's name. He is the second best quarterback in the league.
Man. Let me hit the bell to end this round. But I do want to say something here. First of all, you mentioned two of the three best quarterbacks, Chad. I think you said that a couple times. Who's that third quarterback for you?
I would probably have to say, only because he won a couple MVPs, is probably Lamar Jackson. Even though I know that I just mentioned there, because his running ability, he has gotten better throwing the ball. I will say last year was probably his best year throwing the ball. And he has won two MVPs, so I got to give him that one, at least for the ones that are currently playing. I know they would say Prescott, but I'm sorry, I'm just not impressed.
What about Joe Burrow? Joey Burrow.
Joe Burrow, I'd put top 5. I'd probably have him underneath Lamar Jackson.
Okay. Yeah. And then maybe like Justin Herbert, I would put in there individually. I think you've seen a lot of them. So give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting conversation.
I think definitely he's got a lot of talent. I think that, and I think it'll be interesting to see with what Harbaugh does with him, because I think with the new scheme there, I think it'll be, I think he might have some better success. God, I hope not. But I think that I expect it to be. I think I do expect him to be better this year. The guy's got amazing arm talent. He can sling the ball just as about as everybody. But I don't know if I'm willing to put him top 5 yet. I would just put him right outside of it. But I think that. But I think he's getting there, and I'd be really interested to see what happens with this season, and that might change my mind.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what Jessica says here. This is interesting. Since the 2021 season, the Bills have only lost twice by more than 2 scores. Indy in 2021, I was at that game. That was rough. And the Bengals in the 2022 playoffs. Chiefs have not. Interesting. More than 1 score. And then she says Jets are tied with the Oilers for number of AFC East titles at 4. That is hilarious.
That's still when she dropped that on me. When she dropped that a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's either last week or 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh my God. I said, you can't be serious that the Oilers are still there, being tied with the Jets. That to me is just a phenomenal set. So bravo, Jessica, for bringing that one up, because that was fantastic.
And the Colts have more AFC East titles than the Jets as well, I believe. I think that was another stat, which is hilarious, because the Colts haven't been in the AFC East since they realigned. So
no, because I was going to say, after they left the East there, it was, of course, the Central, and then they realigned it again. So, that was just amazing there when she said that a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, wow, the Oilers. Who would have thought? I forgot they were even in the East. I honestly forgot.
Right?
I really did. I forgot that they were in the AFC East. Colts has 6
works
AFC
for a
East.
major network.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Jessica has so much information. I believe she works for a major network. She won't tell us.
think
but
so.
the information she
Possible.
brings is top notch. So thanks, Jessica, for sharing all
is.
that. So listen, folks, we're going into the 10th round. And I gotta say, Jake, people watching this battle right now feel like you got to come up with something big here. But unfortunately, it's the coaching. It's the coaching.
Ugh.
And my goodness, even if this was, let's say, close, it's gonna be hard to win this round, my friend. But I'm gonna let's first of all, let's start this round. You have 2 minutes to talk about our great coaching staff. But is there any way they can win this round? Let's go, Jake.
There's not a way that they can win this round. I'll just be straight with you.
He ruins it right off the bat. He just goes right for it. It's over.
I'm sorry. Right for the jugular. When it matters most, Sean McDermott has failed in the biggest situations against the Kansas City Chiefs. I just hate to say that. I love Sean McDermott. He's done tremendous things here in Buffalo, but he has not beaten the guy that he has learned underneath to start his career in Andy Reid. Like, he just hasn't been able to do that. He hasn't been able to get over that hump. And you talk about the sport being a team game. Well, this guy is supposed to be, he was over all levels of this team last year. And again, we fell short. And who do we fall short to? The Kansas City Chiefs. Now, there is something to be said about players executing. I do think there was a lot less on Sean McDermott last year and probably more on players just making the plays they needed to make, like Steph Diggs not dropping a pass, Tyler Bass not missing the field goal. So, while I don't put as much blame on him, I think, you look at the two head coaches. Andy Reid is one of the greatest head coaches of all time. Sean McDermott is a good head coach, but he's not great. Andy Reid is great. And then you even talk about offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. Matt Nagy, I like that guy a lot. Obviously, he's the OC, but is he really calling the plays? It's Andy Reid's offense. But he's there to help out a little bit. And, obviously, you guys have done some great things under him. This is his second stint, I believe, with the Chiefs. And then you guys have one of the best defensive coordinators of all time, who I think is actually worthy of a Hall of Fame induction, and Steve Spagnuolo. Just such a creative, incredible adjuster. So it's hard for me to take a guy like Bobby Babich, who's in his first year as a DC, over Steve Spagnuolo. I just can't do that. You can maybe call the Joe Brady, Matt Nagy thing a wash. If you want to even go to another level and talk special teams, Matt Smiley versus Dave Tube, I think you guys win the special teams battle there as well. You guys have had obviously great kicking unit, great return units. It's special there. So I think overall here, I hate to say it, Mike, I'm going to go 10-8 here, Chiefs. Yikes. You're on mute, sir.
I'm sorry. I had to yell real quick.
He was upset. He had to swear a little bit.
No, I knew this was going to come to this. I mean, the Bills, the Bills coaching staff has been winning our first two battles. We won the battle. It was a close one against the Jets, and we won the battle against the Dolphins. But I knew coming into this one, this has been, to me, the biggest differentiator between the two teams. Talk about Kelsey, talk about Mahomes, but ultimately, I mean, that's Spags. I keep hoping he gets hired as a head coach and moves on to another team, because what he does at halftime,
he did,
is incredible. Again, we had the lead going to halftime. I see that team behind, not a lot, I want to say a lot, but I do see a team behind, and more often than not, they make some incredible adjustments. And look what they did. We had this running game going. We had it cooking, right? They couldn't stop us in that game. And the next thing you know, Bills have to move away from it and didn't have any answers. I think we only scored, one touchdown in the second half, I think?
Yep.
So he's incredible, and he seems to do it all the time. So I'm not surprised here with this 10-8. But, Chad, I mean, there's not much more. I mean, what do you got to say?
Well, first of all, before I start that, I just wanted to laugh at that one. Yeah, with this Josh IQ. Yeah, don't speak that evil into existence. Yeah, he can't go anywhere with it. Thank goodness he re-signed and re-upped his contract. Thank goodness. Yeah. I mean, I do agree. I actually had 10-8 as well with the coaching staff, and I broke it down a little bit farther when I honestly had the offensive coordinator. I gave that to Buffalo because I mean, like you said, it's Andy Reid's offense. As they like to say, over in the United Kingdom, I was going to say the Queen, but I forgot she's gone. the king, they're the figurehead. Well, guess what? Basically, Matt Nagy is the figurehead. He's not. He is. Yes, he is given the title as offensive coordinator. It's not. It's Andy Reid. And so I just, with the success he's had, but I do agree there. I think Spags should be in the Hall of Fame there. I think he's the only. I think now I could be wrong about this there, but I think somebody had said or mentioned, I think he's the only defensive coordinator who has 4 Super Bowl rings, if I'm not mistaken, because he won 1 with New York and 3 with Kansas City. I think he's the only one to ever do it. So, I mean, if that doesn't get you in the Hall of Fame, I don't know what else will. And I agree with what Mike said earlier. I've gone into games where I've just been frustrated and wanted to pull my hair out at the way the defense has been playing. And then all of a sudden, when halftime rolls around, and then when you come in, it's just like, where was this team in the first half? Because it's just like a switch just flips, and he just turns us into a juggernaut of a defense. And so, and Dave Toub, Dave Toub's been there for a very long time. He's had the very luxury of having some great kickers, and particularly one now with Harrison Butker. He's also great at, especially back in the day, it was not. It's not called Marty Ball, but winning the turnover battle there and being creative in special teams there, because when you had Tyreek Hill, for a little bit there, to be able to, take kick returns and punt returns, it made it really nice. And then you had McCall Hardman there for a bit, and now I don't know what they're going to do this year. I would assume they're probably McCall Hardman or Kadarius Toney, man, they'll stick with him. But the guy is just a very good schemer at coming up with on the special teams. So, but Andy Reid there for what he's done. To be playing for or coaching some great organizations. Of course, he only played at college at BYU, and then got into the league as a player. But to coach at San Francisco and Green Bay, and then obviously become the head coach of Philly and getting into 5 straight NFC Championship games, getting to the Super Bowl once for the first time since 1980. And then they let him go, and then he comes to Kansas City in 2013 and just completely flips the franchise around. And, and then he just re-signed his contract the same day as Spags did. So, you just can't argue for what he did. He just needed the right quarterback, and he finally got it. And and now all of a sudden the system, it's like, sometimes I won't say it's a well-oiled machine, because sometimes it isn't, but it just sure acted like it can. You could just almost put it on autopilot and let it run. So, but going to Buffalo, and I know I've gone way over time on this, but Sean McDermott made Buffalo relevant again. He's turned that franchise around too, because, what was it? I think that's the first time they'd won. Well, I can't remember if Wade Phillips or if any other. Yeah, to get them to the playoffs and win the division. I don't think any other coach had won the division in a very long time. Had they? Would Wade Phillips or any of them win the division before?
I don't believe so. It was Marv Levy.
I don't think so either.
96 or 95.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought Marv Levy was the last one to win them the division. So, and they obviously hadn't won a playoff game since, I know I hate saying it, since the Music City Miracle. So, been the playoffs since then. And that one night was just a killer. I know. I trust me. When Frank Wycheck passed away here and they made that play, I said, that's the one play that Frank Wycheck will always be remembered for.
Right.
And,
I know.
And I just sit there, of all the great players they had there, that they've made there, but Sean McDermott's made them relevant, and he's made them to where their defense is a lot better. Their offense is, will be better, I think, there, and especially with what the offensive coordinator does now that Brady's Joe Brady, I think.
Joe Brady. Yep.
Yeah, now that he's going to have a full year, going into an offseason to be able to come up with some things there, I think that'll be a benefit. But I just think that obviously you just can't go wrong with the success of Kansas City. But like I said, he's made him relevant again, and I think Buffalo should be proud about that. I know you haven't gotten over the hump. I get that. But you're at least there. You're in the dance. You've been invited to the party. True. It's just now you got to go, okay, we go to this dance, and then we got to go to the next party. It's like you go to one party and, you keep going to the next party, keep going to the next round, and eventually they'll get there. But I just think that he has made them relevant again. So, like I said, it could have been a 10-5, 10-6 blowout. But, if you want to look at it from this way. But really there, McDermott's made them relevant. And he's brought that aura again back from what Marv Levy had back from the 80s and 90s there back to Buffalo again. And obviously, ironically, that you have that coaching tree, coming from Andy Reid there, and you had Marv Levy being in Kansas City and then went to Buffalo, and then you had
so much history between both franchises.
And I mean,
crazy how they're connected.
Oh, it is. And, because who would ever thought there after Marv Levy left Kansas City for what do you do in Buffalo? I mean, taking them to 4 straight. And, and then, like I said, to get that relevancy back in Buffalo again, where they just didn't have it for a long time. So I think that, like I said, I think that it'll be, I think it'll be an interesting year for him. But I think this is, as we've talked about before, I think this is a make or break year for McDermott. I really do. I think he's got to be able to prove it. And if he can win, if Josh Allen wins the MVP, he's going to win. I think he'll probably win Coach of the Year, and that'll probably keep him in there because I think, I do think that what we talked about, I think Allen's going to have a breakout. But we'll see.
Keep talking it. I love that, Chad.
Yeah.
I got to be positive too. I remember I'm in enemy territory here on the channel, quote unquote enemy territory.
Listen, we welcome it.
But I would still say it regardless because, like I said, if there's any one team there that scares the hell out of me, it's Buffalo. It really is. I know Cincinnati's going to be there. I know that Baltimore obviously is going to be there, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with Derrick Henry. But Buffalo is just they scare me, and it's because they have Josh Allen. And like I said, I hope Buffalo does win. Just wait for Mahomes to retire, and then we'll be happy.
You guys can take a year off. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Do a Jordan, retire, and then all of a sudden he gets the itch and he comes back. Yeah.
I got to get this wrapped up because I'm supposed to watch a movie, but you said some things that I'm going to, extend it. My family might be a little mad at me right now, but, I just want to go back to say no, it's fine. I love this. I love this stuff. But, you brought up some good stuff. And yes, a lot of people last year, Zach, where are you, Zach? Where are you, Zach? Calling for McDermott's head after that loss in January. And a lot of folks were saying that. But look, as long as you get him to the dance, and a lot of people forget, and I love that you brought it up. Andy Reid was very successful in Philadelphia. Never got him a ring. Had a lot of good teams get close. Just didn't happen. Then there was this last few years there, there was a steady decline that let him go. And it wasn't until he was finally paired with Pat Mahomes, Kelsey, all the other gentlemen, the coaches that you talked about, that it all came together. And so as long as you're getting your team to the dance, and I always thought of this, Marv Levy lost 4 Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. Should he have been fired after the second one? Because people are saying we can't get over the top with this coach. Should he have been fired? Hell no. We got him to the dance 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. 3 years. Should he be fired now? We can't get over the top. And we never got over the top even in the 4th year. But I would have never said fire that man.
No.
Words would have never come out of my mouth. No. Now here we are with Sean. He hasn't gotten us to the dance. But like you said, we've been competitive. We've been so dang close. And hopefully, it wasn't Dable, wasn't Ken Dorsey, but maybe Joe Brady and Josh Allen and Brady's offense brings it all together. And I think McDermott does a fantastic job. And I'm not ready to say if the Bills had a steep fall off, like we finished 3rd in the division, we don't make the playoffs, maybe. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not going to guarantee it. I want to guarantee it, but someone's going to call me a homer. Bills will make the playoffs, and they're still kings of that AFC East. I don't care what people are saying. So anyhow,
I would have them favored to win the East.
Lighten up on McDermott. I'm telling you, patience. He's getting us close. It'll happen. 31 other teams lose the Super Bowl every year. It's extremely hard. That's all I gotta say. There we go.
Yeah. None of them are like Marty Schottenheimer. Bills are winning playoff team each year. I mean, look at Marty Schottenheimer. I mean, look how many times he would get Kansas City as a 1 seed or even a 2 seed, and look with what happened. And also there, when you look at it there, when Reed got there in 13, we didn't make the playoffs there. Then he had 14, made the playoffs for the first time, won a game in 30 years. 15 got in the dance, didn't do anything. 16 got in the dance, didn't do anything. 17, I don't think we did. So, because we were picking high up there. So we didn't get there either. So that was 5 years. And then you finally get 18, year 6, when they were finally able to do some damage. 19, we got past we got into the division round, lost, of course, to the Patriots in 18. 19, we finally get to the AFC Championship game for the first time since 1969 and got there, and we lost. But then we get back there in 20, I'm sorry, 17 and 18. I'm sorry there. I get it because I forget about the 2019 season. I'll say it that way. We finally get past the Patriots and we finally get to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years and then win it. So that was what, 7, 8 seasons? And McDermott's been there for how many seasons now? Is it year 7 or year 8?
This is years. So he's been here since 2017. So this is actually year 8 that he's going.
Okay.
Into.
And he's had Allen since what, 2018?
2018. Yep.
So you're looking at year 6 with those years together. And like I said, and I just think that that's just going to take time. I know people hate saying that. God, I hated saying it because I had to sit there and listen. Well, there's always extra 30 years I had to wait for playoff wins, 50 years to have to see them in the Super Bowl. But I just think that it's just gonna take some time. It's just getting the right pieces around with the right system. And like I said, with having Brady and Allen, and I don't know with what Allen does there in the offseason, whether if he gets a lot of his guys together and they start going do that, like with what Mahomes does when they go down to Texas and they just start throwing the ball around, they start getting that chemistry built there. And I mean, I really think that's what helped a few years ago when we went to the Super Bowl, because he got everybody together, and they did it again last year. Yeah, the wide receiver there, they let us down there because they couldn't catch, but it's that chemistry. And I just think that helps. And so if he doesn't do that, I think he should. But like I said, they've only been together now for a few years, and we just had some quick success because I think Andy Reid's system fits Mahomes. And I think that's why they had success so quick. I don't know with what Brady's system will have, but from what you could tell when he started taking over, it seemed like it fit pretty well. So they may have some similar success. And just last year, it just like I said, ran into a little bit of bad luck. But I think maybe this year it might be a little bit better. It may build a year or two, but I think that is something to look forward to. And I would still put the Bills as the favorite in the East. I don't care what they say about the Jets or the Dolphins or anything else. I think out of the East, you're probably getting the Dolphins and the Bills making it out of the East. That's just my two. I think the Jets will find themselves one game short, and it's going to come down to one game in the division where somebody's going to have a tiebreaker. If it's not the Bills that win the division, and if it's the Dolphins or vice versa, I think it's going to come down to them as a tiebreaker, and I think that's what's going to happen. So, but that's just me.
It's funny, Josh.
Josh, I love that. I think Allen wins the Super Bowl the year Mahomes tries baseball for a year. It'll be like the Jordan gap years in the NBA.
That's funny.
Oh, the whole league's praying for that.
You ain't kidding. Anthony, good to see you out there, sir. Sorry we didn't get to you. Yes, I agree with what he says here. Coaches had a much longer leash back then as compared to now. I mean, you're talking 2 seasons in. Some guys are even one season I've seen it where guys are done. I mean, it happened with Steve Wilkes, happened with a couple of guys recently even. So, yeah, it's tough. That's a very good point. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the Bills, at the end of the day, until one of these other teams does actually win the division, I mean, we're still kings of the East. And I know the team is in a retool/rebuild. There's going to be some differences this year, but and I'm not saying rebuild, actually. Retool. Yeah. We're winning 12 games this year. Yes.
Jake, I'm gonna put the link in the description of that show I was talking about yesterday that I watched. Really good in-depth discussion about the Bills. They're PFF related guys. And I'll put the link in the description after the show. And when they went through it, they're like, you know what? People are really, I mean, of course, with all the, losing the leadership and all the people that have moved on, they think they're as good as last year, and if not a little better. You have to listen to it. They had a lot of valid reasons why they said that. And they're not Bills fans. They do this for all the teams. They go in the series and they do it. So you gotta listen to it. It's really good. After listening to them, I mean, I'm more than ever a believer. I mean, not that I wasn't a believer to begin with, but I'm like, this
good to be validated.
Could be as good, if not better. Now, listen. I love everyone that's been out there. We got to go through the final scorecard. We haven't done that yet.
We do.
So I'm going to go through this quickly. Going to do a little differently this week. But I mean, if you were watching, you probably kind of know who won, but let's get into it. So round 1, defensive line, Chad and Jake, they scored 10-9 for the Chiefs. BFF, who just handed me the slip here, he's got it 10-9 for the Bills. Now, I'm not going to go into all the players, but again, PFF, I use the starters. But PFF made some decisions that I'm not happy with, and I'll tell you about those as we move through this. So 10-9 for the Bills for the Bills on PFF. Linebacker core, they agreed with you guys. 10-9 Buffalo. over the Chiefs and the linebacker core. Cornerbacks, 10-10, you guys scored it, frowned upon. A lot of people very upset about this. What are these guys doing? They know that this frowned upon. It's frowned upon in boxing. PFF says I never have ties. It's 10-9 Buffalo.
Nice.
10-9 Buffalo.
Okay.
Now, Chris
All right.
McDuffie, he's up there, but I'll tell you what, Rasul Douglas had a very high PFF score last year. And you got all the other guys that Jake mentioned. So the cornerback room goes to Buffalo. So Buffalo comes out first 3 rounds. They're winning in PFF scorecard. They're coming out of the gate, throwing some of these. Like, I mean, they're doing well. I mean, I think there's eyes bleeding over there in the corner of the Chiefs. And then come the safeties. And this was close, guys. This was extremely close, but they agree with you. 10-9 Chiefs. Then we go over to the offensive line. And again, you guys scored at 10-9 Chiefs. PFF also agrees, but there's a caveat. And this is one I'm like, I kind of agree with. They're like, if David Edwards' 82.7 was counted, the Bills would have won this. But what they said is he only played 148 snaps. And so they said, you know what? This gentleman said that. And he said, look, I'm going to average his last 3 to make it fair, because he's never been an 82 guy, but he only had a small sample rate. So he said, I'm going to average the last 3. And by doing so, that gave the Chiefs a 10-9 round. Otherwise, it would have been the Bills winning 10-9. So, and again, I agree with you guys. I mean, there's, moving Connor McGovern to center, and then inserting David Edwards into left guard. There's going to be some adjustment there no matter what. And so definitely Chiefs 10-9 in that one. This was the first knockdown. Tight ends. They give us a knockdown. I mean, it was so PFF, the way they say it, if it's greater than 10 points average score, and they took the 2 top tight ends on the team, knockdown for the Chiefs. I mean, Jason Kelsey had an 82.7. Let me see. Let me give you the accurate number there. Tight ends, Kelsey, 82.5. Dalton Kincaid, 68.8. Dawson Knox, 54.5. And I use Noah Gray as the other guy, 62.9. So 2 tight ends, because usually, teams are incorporating both of them. So knock down for the Chiefs there. We get into the wide receiver room. They agree with you. Chiefs 10-9 on that one. Close, guys. Very close. I mean, we're talking just a point, maybe a point or 2. And then over in the running back room, they disagree with you. They actually gave the Chiefs the 10-9 round in that one, whereas you gave the Bills the 10-9 round. Pacheco had a higher score. It was like 1.5 points higher than Cook. And then so basically what was used there was, let me give the 2 running backs that were used. You guys probably know Pacheco and Hilaire Edwards. So Edwards had a 66. We used Ty Johnson, was a 69.7. They don't take into account these new rookies for the running back. They don't think they're going to start at all or even be second in depth. Who knows when camp starts? That might change. Ray Davis, like you talked about, Jake, a lot of promise for him. But they give the Chiefs that round. Then we go to the quarterbacks. And here's another little caveat that I want to say. So again, all of these grades were using the regular season, right? Regular season. We didn't factor in any playoff grades. Josh Allen had a higher PFF score than Pat Mahomes. Now, this gentleman over here says, hold on. I can't let Josh Allen win this round. It just can't, because of the reasons Chad gave. Like 3 out of 5, 3 out of the last 5 years, Super Bowl winner, 6 AFC championship games in a row. So he makes a decision to use the playoff games, because then they only use the 2 games, the wild card and then the big game, Bills against the Chiefs. And Pat Mahomes had a slightly better grade when you factored in those 2 games, because Pat Mahomes had a 90 PFF score, Josh Allen a 92. And then you factor in the 2 games while Josh Allen did great in that game against Buffalo, Pat Mahomes was off the charts. So that gave him the edge, 10-9. I was upset with him. I'm like, how can you do that? You're using regular season for every other position group, but you're going to make an exception I come to find out he does like the Chiefs. So I don't know here, guys. I'm just saying, if I come to find out, I got to the root of the issue here.
That's
But
hilarious.
anyhow, and then PFF can't score the coaches, so they are not participating in that. But you guys gave it a 10-8. I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. I don't know of anyone who would disagree. If you find someone, let me know. So, Chad, Jake, you scored it 98-92 Chiefs. Woo! Big discrepancy there. PFF scored it 87 Chiefs, 83 Bills. 4-point differential for PFF. Again, they don't take into the account the coaching. If you did take in the account coaching and they scored a 10-8, you'd be dead on. So PFF and you guys, you did a great job. So total score, Chiefs 185, Buffalo 175. So the Bills fall to 0-2-1. We don't have a win yet, Jake. I mean, this is concerning. But again, I think the point is, when we do these things, those position groups, it's so marginal. Like, seriously, if you're looking at PFF grades, we're not talking huge disparities here. We're talking 1 point, percentage point, small, tenths of a point in some cases. So, but the coaching staff is always the biggest concern. I think, again, like I said earlier, that's been to me the differential between those playoff games in the last two times we played in the playoffs. But man, I still think the Bills will give. I think we'll meet the Chiefs again, and we'll meet them in the regular season. I've already made the call. I said, can you let the Chiefs win the regular season game? Let them win it. Let's flip the script, because we've been winning every regular season game and losing in the playoffs. So flip the script. Throw the game. I don't care, as long as we still get into the playoffs, and then finally we win that game. So anyhow, guys, this was a lot of fun. We went about an hour and 36 minutes. I had a lot of fun. And Chad, thank you so much. This was great.
No, absolutely.
Thank you, Jessica.
Jessica,
yes.
thank you so much.
Jessica.
Weston.
Please remember to smash that like button for us. And Josh IQ, I think that's the first time I've seen you out there. Please, we'd like to see you again. We have a Discord. We have a Chiefs thread in our Discord. So join it. Talk to Chad. Talk to Weston. We all jump in there on the Chiefs. So good stuff. Jake,
and it's free.
And it's absolutely free. Free and fun. Jake, final words. Take us out of here, man.
Yeah, I will say this. I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike. The margin between the Bills and everyone else that the media has been saying are so much farther out of the Bills league than than anything, right? It's encouraging, and I think let's stay slept on. I'm good with it. But Chad, this is fun, man. I really enjoyed this. I think again, it's going to be one of those classic years, where we'll find each other in the playoffs, and hey, may the best man win. It's going to be fun.
I agree. I think it will be fun, and I'm okay with the script being as it is. I'm okay with that. I'll take the regular season losses and take the playoff wins. I'll be okay with that. But
right.
No, I just they're always, it's always fun, and it's it makes it fun to cheer. And I'm hoping one of these days I would love to make it to Buffalo, to go to a Buffalo Kansas City game. I don't think I'll be able to do it this year, but because I'll probably be out of vacation by that time, especially after everything's been going on with me. But one of these days I'm going to make it. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully it'd be fun if it's a playoff game, but I won't be able to afford those tickets. But even for regular season, it'll still be a lot of fun. So one of these days I will. But I think it's be a good year. Like I said, I think there's interesting. They're interesting. I don't want to use paths, but crossroads is kind of the word that comes to mind, I think, for both the teams as to what they do and how they handle things, because I think there's some obviously some holes there that need to be addressed. And I guess we'll find out with what the rookies are made of, but also find out with what players are adapted to systems and so forth, because who knows there, like you mentioned about with some people there, if they can stay healthy. I mean, that's the key part is be able to stay healthy. And I think if just obviously we have one big cog that has to stay healthy, in which I think it's important there that we have the entire offensive line there, but intact, because then they gel pretty well together. But I just think it's going to come down to, as we mentioned before, it comes down to a few plays. It's usually not a whole game there. It's usually come down to a few plays there that decides between a win and a loss. I mean, it's about 3 to 4.
Yeah,
as usually on average. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Oh, it's
We're
gonna
only-
be. Josh, listen, I'm upset about the no kickers too. I do want to let you know I'm a huge special teams guy, so this hurts me.
Yeah.
One of my favorite players of all time, who's the longest tenured Buffalo Bill, by the way, is Reed Ferguson. I have his jersey back there. You guys have James Winchester, phenomenal long
Yes.
snapper. I'm going to give the edge to our guy there. I think you guys have the better kicker in Harrison Butker. Tyler Bass had a shaky year this past year, missed a big field goal against you guys. Punter, very interesting. You guys got Matt Ariza.
Yeah.
We have Jack Browning and Sam Martin competing right now. So I don't know what's going to happen.
And Ariza, drafted by the Bills last year, had to be let go. Unbelievable. Yeah, Josh, there's a reason I left them off. We would have lost that round. I couldn't afford any more rounds. Thank you.
Love this.
Thank you for the sub. Appreciate you. And yeah, like I said, join the Discord because there's we've met a lot of why I like doing this show. We've had some of our biggest shows with this battle here, and we meet a lot of cool Chiefs fans. You guys are absolutely cool. Yeah, there's Bills Mafia and Chiefs, and they get dirty a little bit, but I'll tell you what, we've met a lot of good people here and become friends with them. So thanks for joining us out there. Everyone else who's watched this, again, smash that like, drop a nickel on that subscribe. Jake, we got to get out of here. Did you want to say one more thing? I'll let you say one more thing.
Love Brian Moorman. I am getting a framed jersey of Brian Moorman to pair with my Ryan Lindell one over there. So I'm fired up to see that you mentioned that Weston Pittsburgh State guy. Shout out Brian Moorman, one of the best players during the drought era with the Buffalo Bills. Hell
by the
yeah.
way,
I was just going to say Pitt State about 30 minutes.
Yes, they do. Greg Legotron Zerline.
Like I was just about to say, Brian Moorman from Pittsburgh State, about 30 minutes from my house. Over there, and God, I hated seeing him play when he played against my my alma mater. So I absolutely hated it because he would always kill us. So, and I don't like Pitt State anyway. So, but
I love it.
What can I say? No, Brian Moorman was fantastic.
Weston, one of the best insiders. He's always giving us information before anyone else knows. Thank you, Weston. Appreciate that. We got to get you on here. I don't know what's happening.
We got to bring it back, brother.
Yeah. We are trying to get an Arrowhead addict, somebody from that show, on our show. If you guys can help us, of any one of them. I'm trying to message what's his name? Matt Verderam. Verderam. I looked at his X and he doesn't have any way to message. You might have turned that off. But I would love to get him or somebody else or so help us out. Anyhow, we gotta go. I gotta go watch The Dark Knight. Believe it or not,
great movie. One of the best opening scenes ever.
My son's girlfriend has never seen it, so we're gonna go watch it.
Should be
everybody again. I hope you had a great Father's Day. We'll see you soon. Lots of content on Nickel City Mafia. You got the AFC East Summit on Tuesdays. Sabre Show, I think they're on break right now. Maybe not. They might do a show this week. We got fantasy football kicking off in about a month or so. So Josh IQ and hopefully Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. And I know there are a lot of people at the various stadiums watching this. Hope you enjoyed. Next week, believe it or not, guys, next week we're gonna go against the Texans. We got to do it. Steph Diggs moving to Houston, and we got a person to represent the Texans. Believe it or not. So not as fun as this one, but it's Diggs. It should be interesting. So. And I know Stefan will be watching this. Mr. Diggs will watch this show because he loves checking us out. I'm just telling you.
Oh, yeah.
Anyhow, go Bills. Thanks, everyone. We got out of here. Good night. See ya.
Yep.
Go Bills.